Good evening for a late edition of the Ignition News. There were some breaking stories tonight that I wanted to talk about because I think they're important. And also, we're trying to get out lots of great information and news content for you so that candidly you get addicted to the show because we want you to follow along on all of your favorite platforms, whether that's Spotify, Substack, Apple. What's the other one? I know I'm forgetting one. But yeah, it's great to have you on the Ignition News. If you are looking around for actual factual news, and you're tired of all the bullshit, you're tired of all the billionaires deciding what you need to know about the news, well, welcome to the Ignition News. If you're new to the show, we are broadcasting live on TikTok as we record tonight's very late episode. It's 10:13 p.m. at our studio here in Las Vegas. And before we get into tonight's stories, you know the deal. If you're watching this episode, you got to be, it's more than just listening to the episode, by the way. You got to be out in your community doing good work. Have you done something good today? Have you made a call to a neighbor? Have you done something for mutual aid? Have you been checking in on someone who needs a check-in? We don't do passive news consumption here, okay? We do action. So let's talk about what happened today. A couple additional stories since the first episode this morning. Thanks for joining us on the Ignition News. If you're watching live on TikTok, please do go to The Ignition and subscribe to the actual podcast on all of your favorite platforms. 3 stories that I want to talk about tonight, and the first one's going to test the boundaries of TikTok. Let's go. This is going back to January 6th, an event that actually happened in America 4 years, by the way, 4 years ago. That is how long it took, everyone, to arrest the person who planted pipe bombs outside the DNC on January 5th, 2021. It took 4 years to arrest that person. Allegedly, the lawyers tell us, Brian Cole, who's 30 years old, from Woodbridge, Vash Patel's FBI arrested him on December 4th. And what he told investigators should be scary for you because it's a blueprint of how conspiracies become violence in America. Now, allegedly, Brian Cole did confess to this. He told the FBI he believed that the 2020 election was stolen. He said he supported Trump. He told investigators that someone needed to speak up for people who believed the election fraud conspiracy. And he targeted both political parties because, in his words, they are in charge. That's what he actually said to the FBI. If people feel that something as important as voting in federal elections is being tampered with, is being relegated null and void, then someone needs to speak up, right? Someone up top. So when they asked him why he did it, he said, I really don't like either party at this point. So here's the part of that story that's really important. He didn't just wake up one day and decide to do this. This was a months-long process. Investigators found shopping bags full of the components that he needed to do this at home. He set timers on them. And one day, one of those, by the way, was 20 feet away from then Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. Of course, his plot was a failure, probably because he's MAGA and not a very bright guy. They were discovered just 15 hours after he placed them. And as we now know, this was not some inside job like Dan Bongino said. What's his name? Dan Bongino, the guy at the FBI? Dan Bongina? I don't know what his name is. Anyways, Bongino spread conspiracy theories about this, and now the man's second in charge at the FBI. Pam Bondi held a press conference about this, by the way. She said, today's arrest happened because the Trump administration made this case a priority. This cold case languished for 4 years. That's a lie. That's a lie from that's a head of the Department of Justice, your Attorney General. Well, let me correct myself there. That's a lie from the Attorney General. The FBI had been working on that case since 2021. They tracked cell phone data, hardware purchases, surveillance footages. I'm just going to say everyone thought it was Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm just saying that was the allegation. That was the allegation, okay? This wasn't just some cold case that because Donnie Bravo got onto the presidency that this got solved. The reality is the hardworking men and women at the FBI, before Cash got there, were doing the work. And now we actually do have a confession from someone who believed those lies about the 2020 election so deeply that he did these terrible things. Why am I talking about this? Why are we recording the news tonight about this at 10:17 p.m. in Las Vegas? And it's simple. It's because the words of this administration are dangerous. They say dangerous people and some mentally ill people pick up on this dangerous shit and they do dangerous things. And they know this. Trump knows this, Bondi knows this, Cash knows this, Dan knows this, Dan Bongino knows this. They all know exactly what they're doing. Stephen Miller knows this. What's her name? Carolyn Levitt, she knows this. Every one of these people knows that when they say these dangerous things, people listen to them. And unfortunately, some people who are dispositioned mentally, they act on these things. And now they're acting like it's some kind of like victory that they apprehended the guy for committing the crime that they started. It's absurd. And that's why we're talking about on this late night edition of the Ignition News. When you hear a story like that, you're only going to hear the small little snips, the little bits, the points on the national news. If you're lucky to hear it at all on CBS News, Bari Weiss's CBS News. But the reality is we have to be able to speak truth to power. This incident would not have happened if it were not for the lies of the president in 2020. The president lied to the country, he ginned up his supporters, and people did crazy shit. Welcome to the Ignition News on a late night broadcast. It's 10:18 p.m., but there's important stories you want to know. We are launching this new news platform, the Ignition. We want you to be updated with truth. So I had some news in me tonight. We're doing a late night show, broadcasting live on TikTok, of course. And listen, if you're watching on TikTok, do me a favor, head on over to the ignition.news. Do subscribe and follow the show on your favorite platform. And let's go on into segment 2. Did you think that the Greenland conversation was over? I felt like he had gotten bored with the Greenland conversation. But the president still wants Greenland. So here's what happens when imperialism and the empire gets stupid. On December 22nd, Trump appointed Jeff Landry, the governor of Louisiana, as his special envoy to Greenland. Landry immediately posted on social media, "It's an honor to serve you in this volunteer position to make Greenland part of the United States of America." Not strengthen relations. He wasn't saying, "I'm excited to get over there and meet people." No, he literally puts on social media, "I'm going to make Greenland part of the United States." I'm so tired of this. Are you tired of this? Denmark, which Greenland is a part of as a self-governing territory, summoned immediately the U.S. ambassador. Okay? Denmark's foreign minister, Lars Løkke Rasmussen, said that he was deeply upset, and he said that Landry's comments were totally unacceptable. So the dude gets his job. The next day, he's getting called in by the foreign minister. What the fuck are you talking about? Danish prime minister said the following: "National borders and the sovereignty of states are rooted in international law. They are fundamental principles. You cannot annex another country." I said company. What am I talking about? It's late. What was the president's response? Well, here's what he said. We need Greenland for national security, not for minerals. If you take a look at Greenland, blah, blah, blah. You know the point. You've heard all this before. He says we have to have it. He was also asked directly whether he would rule out military force, and he refused to do so. This is insane. Okay? Let's be very clear about what's happening. The president of the United States is openly talking about taking the territory of a NATO ally. This is obviously just another distraction. This is not happening in a vacuum, okay? In March, he declined to rule out military force for Greenland. In August, Denmark summoned U.S. officials after reports of covert American influence operations in Greenland. This week, Trump suspended leases for offshore wind project being developed by Denmark's state-controlled company, Ørsted, and obviously economic pressures following after that. So it's not happening in an isolated vacuum at all by any stance. But here's what makes it particularly absurd. Greenland's 57,000 residents do not want this. We know from a poll in January that the vast majority want independence from Denmark, but they do not want to be part of the United States. Who would want to be part of the United States right now? We got to get our shit together. We have nothing together. So what you have is an American president opening to threaten a NATO ally. This is literally 19th century imperialism happening on tweets, and it's dangerous. Here's the playbook from the administration. Identify something crazy, claim it's essential for national security, refuse to rule out force, apply economic pressure, ignore international law, ignore the Congress, ignore the courts, ignore the people who actually live there. We've seen this before, okay? Just not from countries who claim to be democracies. Welcome, everybody, to the Ignition News. That was story 2 of 3 on our late night show. We're doing great. It's great to have you. If you're watching live on TikTok, we're great to have you, but you better go over and subscribe on Spotify, Substack, Apple Podcasts, or whatever the other one is, because we're not going to be live broadcasting these forever. Our next segment tonight, the Dictator's Guide to Handling Jokes. On Christmas Eve, literally Christmas Eve morning, 12:36 a.m., the president posted the following on Truth Social. If network newscasts and their late night shows are almost 100% negative to President Donald Trump and the Republican Party, shouldn't their very valuable broadcast licenses be terminated? And then just 3 minutes later, he posts, Merry Christmas. Do you all remember when Joe Biden was up at 2 in the morning tweeting on Christmas Eve? It's such a great um, it's such a great presidential tradition. Now, of course, he obviously specifically targeted Stephen Colbert, but the fact is, Colbert's show is ending in May anyway. CBS already announced that they're canceling Colbert, but he went after Seth Meyers, Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Fallon. He said they all have high salaries, no talent, and really low ratings. That's just part of a pattern, though, by the way, right? The president thinks that he can just bully these billionaires, these networks, into being quiet. That, my friends, is why we have the Ignition News. Nobody's going to bully me off TikTok. Nobody's going to be bullying me off of Spotify, right? We need to provide raw, uncensored news, give you the updates. But it is working. Why do we know that? Because of what happened with 60 Minutes. Sharon Alfonsi said in her memo about the El Salvador story, if the standard for airing a story becomes the government must agree to be interviewed, then the government effectively gains control over 60 Minutes. And that's right. Listen, I'm not going to call the administration and ask them if it's okay if we do a late night broadcast of the Ignition. I'm here for you, and you're here for the truth. That's my promise, and that's my commitment to you. But here's the pattern, okay? What connects all three of these stories? It's something I like to do at the end of the show, by the way. What connects all three of these stories? Violence from below gets rewarded or ignored. That's what connects these three stories tonight. So, what do you do with this information? We document. We witness, we see what's happening, and we refuse to say this is normal. None of what's happening is normal, and we refuse to allow that conversation to suggest as much. Thank you very much for listening to this very late night edition of the Ignition News. Speak the truth, see the truth, and share the truth. We're here live on TikTok. This episode will be uploaded to your favorite platforms. If you're watching live on TikTok, please go ahead and do subscribe to the show because you got to be part of the news. I mean, that's exciting. I do want to also say for everyone either watching or listening to the show, one of the things we want to do with the Ignition News is we want to be able to find those secret pockets of stories. We want to find them. We want to see them. We want to hear what's happening in your local communities. Okay? What's happening? How can we shed light and truth on that as well? So if you have something happening in your community that you think deserves national attention, well, go ahead and reach out to us. Let us know. We'll take a look at it. We'll investigate it. And maybe that story could be featured on The Ignition. I do want to close out by reminding you that The Ignition is brought to you by our signature podcast, Ignite, Fighting Fascism in the Age of Its Rise, with 12 episodes and 4 bonus episodes. If you're wondering to yourself, how do I fight this fascism in my country? What do I do? Well, let me tell you. Go over and head to your favorite podcast platform, find the podcast Ignite, Fighting Fascism. All you got to do is search Ignite, Fighting. You'll find it. It's right there. And it's going to be 12 episodes, 4 bonus episodes, literal step-by-step instructions on how to get involved in your community. And I've got good news, by the way. We're just about to launch season 2. Season 2 of Ignite is coming up. And every day here on The Ignition, you're going to get your daily news updates, the relevant news, the connected news, but most importantly, the truth. Everyone, thanks. We did it in one take tonight, this very, very late time. It's 10:27 p.m. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you for following The Ignition News. It's great to have you. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episodes. I mean, who knows at this point how many we're going to have. The 3 things that combined the stories we talked about were an administration threatening to scare people. We are not scared because we know the truth, we see the truth, and we speak the truth. That's what we're all about here at The Ignition. Go out, do something great. We'll see you on the next episode.